I don't know wetin I do. We make you love me so daddy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you specially to this month's edition of the Impacttouch show. Hey, once again, my name is Impacttouch, and I'm delighted to have every one of you and those that will just be joining us in the course of this 1 hour. And today's show, we're just going to be talking on a very important topic, a topic that people have different perspective to. And I know when we say red flags, once we hear red flags, the first thing that comes to your mind, man, this relationship is not for me. I just gonna quit. You know, a red flag is a scary subject, the scariest concept, people think of in relationship. And basically what I'm going to do with us this afternoon is to break down that subject of red flag and to teach you, tell you how you can use these things to your own advantage, your own benefits. The beautiful thing is that there's no man born with a woman that doesn't have a red flag. All right, so let's just calm down and relax and join what we are having this afternoon. Let me start with a story, and a story some of us that are on the Christian side will find familiar. And this story is simply the story of how the children of Israel went to the land of Canaan. Now, it got to a point that Moses had to choose 12 men and say, all right, you guys go and spy out the land of Canaan and bring us reports. And the 12 men went to spy out the land of Canaan. And when they got there, what they saw was amazing. They were like, wow, the land we just saw is filled with milk and honey. Like every pleasant thing can be found in that land. But then we also found the giants, the sons of the Anakites. And we were as grasshoppers, even in our own eyes. So 10 of the 12 sent out. They saw the land, obviously, but then they saw the giants. And because of the giants, they say we cannot go into that land. Let's just retreat, because even we are as grasshoppers in our own eyes. Now, what happened in that story? The simple thing that happened in that story is that the 10 spies, they saw the red flags. You see, red flags is so important that when you magnify them, you might break and end your relationship. Red flags is so sensitive that you just don't say, okay, red flag, and you focus on the red flag and you forget every other thing. Mind you, these people saw a land that was filled with milk and honey, and then they saw a red flag, and the red flag were the giants. And because of this red flag, they say we cannot walk into that land. I cannot sustain that relationship. I cannot continue in this marriage, because there are things you've discovered about your partner that made you forget a good part of him, that made you forget a good part of her. Why? This is why we wonder why some people get happily married, and in the course of 2, 3, 5 years, the marriage is scattered. Because inherent in that marriage, people begin to see the negative part of their partner. They begin to embolden the simple thing that they can compromise, that they can sacrifice, that they can forgive. And they seem to be lost of the other good part of their partners that is really very important. But out of the 10 spies, we had the remaining 2 in the person of Caleb and Joshua. And they were like, yes, the land, obviously, as they have said, is filled with milk and honey. And we also just saw the giants. We saw the giant. But one thing is important. If God has said we will possess this land, the giant cannot even stop us. You see, red flag in relationship are always constant. As a matter of fact, if you meet someone that does not have a red flag, you are sitting on a time bomb. All right. If you are living with a partner that doesn't have a red flag, you are just somebody is just deceiving somebody somewhere. Every man born of a woman have their own weaknesses, have their own limitations, have their own errors. All right. So he said, if God had promised us that we will possess this land, not even the red flags will stop us. Now that's important. You see, that is why people in church will tell you, when you want to get married, seek the face of God. Because there is no man born of a woman that doesn't have a red flag. But when you seek the face of God, you begin to learn, are these issues things I can handle? Are these issues things I can sort out? Can I receive grace to deal with these realities? We've taught people. I heard one funny story that talked about red flag. The man was teaching, I think, in a relationship class, and told them that a young man and a lady were walking on the street. And then the young man saw a dog and kicked the dog and laughed, and the word passed. Now, the man was teaching that his kicking the dog was a red flag. All right. So that if you want to know an abusive partner, the way he treated the dog is showing you a sign that's the way he can abuse someone. Some of those teachings are wrong. They are erroneous. That someone kicked a dog doesn't mean he's going to beat you. All right. So we need to be careful to understand what red flag is, what red flag is not. Red flag while you are dating and red flag when you are married. And that is quickly what I'll be sorting out for us this afternoon. What red flags are not. What red flags are not. Red flags are not always deal breakers. Red flags can be opportunity for growth, communication, and understanding. Red flags are not always deal breakers. Red flags can be opportunity for growth, communication, and understanding. Now, why do you need to discover red flags in the life of your relevant order? It's very important. When you see a red flag, it does not mean you should break up. This is what people have been taught over time. Now, you are going out with a young guy, you are going out with a young lady. On the first date, you discover something about him or something about her. It doesn't mean you should break up. See, this is why a lot of people are single. Because you dated A and you broke up because A is an annoying person. You dated B and you broke up because she talks too much. You dated C and you broke up because she's an illiterate. You dated D and you broke up because you feel she's not spiritual enough. And this is how you be going around the same cycle, dating different people because you are looking for an individual without a red flag. Can I bring you a breaking news? There is nobody without a red flag. All right? Write that down. Just settle it. All right? Write that down. So red flag is not always deal breakers. Red flag can provide a platform for you to do what? To know how to communicate, to understand individuals. So what do? Like an example. I go on a date with you and we get talking. And I notice that you easily get angry. That's a red flag. Yeah, I don't like people that get angry. I don't know about you guys. And I notice you get often angry. The next question I should ask you is, I want to hear your story. Just tell me about you. All right. Tell me the things you discovered about yourself. Tell me the things people appreciate you for. Tell me the things people complain about you. All right. And when the person starts talking, the person will obviously say, my friend used to say I used to get angry. You're like, so why do you get angry? You need to begin to understand where the person is coming from. Because people are a makeup of the environment they grew, the experiences they had, the people they lived amongst. So when you notice something about someone's weakness, it is not a deal breaker. You must first sit down to understand, why is this person this way? Why does she act this way? Why does he act this way? Red flag can work for you or against you. So when you maximize what you notice about the relevant order, how you deal with it can work for you. Have you heard the story of this young man, Pastor Jerry Eze? We are familiar with NSPPD. All right. You know the story about how him and his wife, went through the process. The wife used to be a very hot-tempered lady. When you want to gossip, you don't raise your voice. Okay, the wife is a very hot-tempered lady, and then he shared the story that when they have issues, she can scatter television, she can scatter anything in the house. That is a heavy red flag. And I knew a lot of guys wouldn't want to marry a lady who is hot-tempered. But one thing you need to get from here is that this young man began to understand her, to communicate better, and to find a platform for growth. Some of you are married today, and your partner has changed. The way he used to behave is no more the way he behaves right now. And you are like, oh, this is not who he used to be. Before we got married, he was this, he was that. Then after marriage, suddenly he became a vampire, he became a wolf, he became ignorant, he became this. Stop magnifying those details that you see about your partner. The right question you should be asking yourself is, how can I work on these things to bring about a change in the life of my partners? Because the problem you find in your partner is a solution God has brought you into that relationship to resolve. Once we are married, every of your partner's weakness is your assignment. Every of your partner's weakness is your assignment. That is why in marriage, you are not in that union to complain about their weaknesses. You are in that union to help them become better individuals. And when you look at the relationship between Christ and the church, the Bible talks about him. He does not talk about the limitations of the church. He will always focus on what the church can become. You are the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. Who? You, fornicator, adulterer, someone that steals, someone that backbites, but he still says you are the righteousness of God in Christ because he focuses on what you can be in Christ and deals with the things that are limitations in your life. So when you are married, very important, learn how to magnify your partner's strength and compromise your partner's weakness. Learn how to magnify your partner's strength and compromise your partner's weakness. And if you are single, once you discover that red flag, the first question you should ask yourself, is this something that I can handle? That's the first question. Because as we go on, I'm going to explain to us something important. That what is red flag for Mr. A may not be a red flag for Mr. B. All right? Now, what you see as a red flag, like me, a woman that is not always in the kitchen is not a red flag for me because I can cook. Like, if you leave me in the kitchen, I'm not going to stress anybody. No, but it's going to be a red flag for another young man who doesn't know how to cook. All right? So you can't apply what I see as a red flag into your life. This is why once you discover a red flag, first ask yourself, is this a deal breaker? There are things that are deal breakers that you cannot deal with, and there are things you can easily walk through. So taking care and maximizing the red flags you've noticed can help you, all right, in your journey of love, and you will not stay on the wheels of trying to find the right partner as time elapses. That you find out someone's weakness does not mean you should end the relationship. All right, very important. Number two, what red flags are not? Red flags are not always obvious. Yes, just know that. Red flags are not always obvious. Red flags can be subtle, red flags can be hidden, they can be masked, and they will require more attention and intuition to detect. They will require more attention and intuition to detect. This is why it's, at times when you see people come for divorce and you hear this stuff, the woman can just, white testify, will just say, this is not who he used to be. He used to be so nice and caring. Then we got married and everything changed. No, he wasn't so nice and caring anything. It was you that you were not intentional to really discover who he is or who she is. Yeah, there was one of those cases that the young man, he even bought her a Mercedes Benz those years, when Mercedes Benz was still a big ride, before they got married. And 2 weeks after marriage, her character changed. I said, no, there is no how you are intentional about your relationship that you will not see red flags. So why don't people see red flags during relationship? I'll tell you why. Most times we are engrossed with the emotions, with the passion, with the feeling. Having to wonder, some of these guys, when you are having a chat with your relevant other, and you'll be like, okay, once I get to work, even when I'm tired and I think about you, my mind just is at ease. I just feel happy. Joy comes from nowhere. Since you came into my life, things have been working. And the lady will just be, I am blushing, that kind of a thing. And the lady just blush. You just be discussing stupid things that are not relevant. You go to beach, you go to parties, you go to movies and everything. You have never been intentional to ask yourself, what are the details of this person's life? And these are the caliber of people who say that love is blind. When in reality, love really doesn't have to be blind. All right. So when they eventually get married, living in that fool's paradise, and in marriage, which is the reality, you begin to see the obvious person, the real individual. You begin to complain that he changed. He never changed. That was who he is. So please, for the single ones, once we are in a relationship, don't let love be class judgment. Don't let your feeling, emotion to be class judgment. Be intentional. Be intentional, because red flags are often hidden. And if you're not intentional, you may never find them out until you get stuck in that bond called marriage. And if you are married, you also need to be intentional. That you are married doesn't mean that you should stop looking out for red flags. Do you know why we have a lot of divorce cases in the society today? It's because people get married and they lose sight of red flags. Now, your husband used to come back 5 p.m. every day, used to come back 5 p.m. every day, and suddenly he starts coming back 11 p.m. Don't you think something is wrong somewhere? That is a red flag. That is a red flag. Your husband used to drop money at home and take care of the home, and suddenly he stops dropping money at home. That is a red flag. Your wife just stays and she stops talking. And when you ask, what's the problem? She says it's mood swing. Mood swing my foot. Do you have mood swing every week? That is a red flag. So once you begin to discover a change in attitude, a change in character, a change in pattern in your partner, that's a red flag. It's very important that in marriage, you must understudy the mood of your partner. And by that, you can be sensitive to know when third parties are coming to your marriage. There are things you don't ignore. There are actions you don't ignore. And not ignoring them doesn't mean that if you discover those things, you should go and fight your partner. No. When you discover those things, what do? Let's go back to the story I told us at the beginning. And that's the story of how Moses sent out the 12 spies to go and spy the land of Canaan. The Bible said the 10 of them came and saw what? We saw the land filled with milk and honey, obviously, but then we saw the giants. But Caleb and Joshua say yes. But one thing is certain. God told us we can possess this land. This is why we'll tell people, before you get married, have a conviction that you are with the right person. Because marriage itself will bring storms that without your conviction, you'll be tempted to pull out. Marriage itself has its own storm that it will take your conviction to stay married. It's one thing to be married, it's another thing to stay married. People you see stay married are people that had convictions. And they know that this thing I've gotten into is going to be for better and for worse and to death to us parts. So Caleb and Joshua replied that word, that since our God had given us the promise, I had an assurance before the day I walked on the altar with you that you are the right person. So we are going to go through this storm together. If you have that conviction in your mind, when the storms of marriages come, when you see those red flags, what do? You go back to the same person that gave you that conviction. Say, yes, when I got married to this man, he does not used to drink, he does not used to smoke, but now he's smoking. You don't go to man and say, Baba Labaja, when did you start smoking in this house? So you've been hiding your character. Now you are showing yourself. Oh, you useless, reckless man. You are scattering your home. Oh, our ladies are very good with this one. Once they discover a red flag, the first point of contact is their husband's phone. They now go and look for the contact, what he's been chatting and who he's been chatting to, and they will start looking for what is not lost. Like I always crack the joke. I say, whoever that seeks shall find. All right. So now, when you find what you are looking for, how do you address the situation? You need to go back to God. The Bible says, Spirit will direct you into all truth. When you are confronted with situation in your marriage, you go back to God that gave you that conviction that you are in this marriage because it's the right path to take. Say, God, how do I talk to this man? How do I deal with this situation? How do I not make this thing, give birth to hurts or scatter the marriage? How best can I handle this thing? Because what? Red flags are not always obvious, but when you find them, the way you deal with them really matters. So you need to be intentional. The wife will tell you that you just mood swing is what do the ladies call it? Is the normal monthly visitor. The normal thing it's not any normal thing that happens every month. It's not a mood swing. It is what? A red alert, a red flag. When your partner consistently keep doing something that is not the way they used to live before. I need to take that note down. The third one I want to talk about here is that red flag is not the same for everybody. This is what I started with initially. What red flag is for you is not what red flag is for the next person. You must know what red flag is for you. And this is why I advise that you don't make your marital decisions based on someone else's conclusion. People will just come, you can't marry from Imo State. My elder brother that married an Imo girl. Those people, they are very stubborn. Those people, they are very fetish. And now you have an Igbo man, Imo State man that wants to come and marry you. But because of what you have heard about red flag from other people's experiences, you are drawing conclusions for yourself. You go tay. Seriously. All right. You see a young man that will come and say, if I want to get married, I need to get married to this kind of lady. Oh, she's nice, but she's not educated. She's nice, but she doesn't have any means, doesn't have any earnings. She doesn't have any business she's doing. But within you, the person is the right person, but you are looking at those red flags because what constitutes red flag for Mr. A might not be what is red flag for Mr. B. So you must sit down and think to yourself, what are the red flags I should watch out when I am in a relationship? What are the red flags I should watch out when I'm married? Now, let me quickly talk to us what red flags then are. Red flags could mean a call for communication. Red flag could mean a call for communication. So when you're dating someone and you notice something, it's time to talk. Oh. Yeah, it's time to talk. You see, silence is a killer. Silence is a killer. And red flags are signals. As these signals open doors for honest communication to address specific issues and concerns. When you see something and you keep quiet, you are going to destroy a relationship. So the first thing you do when you notice a red sign is to communicate. Find the best way to communicate to your partner. Find the best way to ask those questions. Like we'll tell the single people, when you meet a guy and you go on a date and you discover the guy is abusive, what do? Do you quit? What do? You begin to ask questions. You need to know where he's coming from. You need to know the experiences his parents had. You look at a girl that she doesn't know how to do anything, clean the house. You don't just call it quits because she might actually be the right person, but it's just that she has these weaknesses that you might need to compromise and make sacrifices for you guys to live happily together forever. So it's very important that you find this time for communication. Understand why people do the things they do. Understand why people act, the way the negative things you've observed about your partner. Why are they that way? You can actually help them to change. I just narrated the story of Jerry Eze. Today, if you see Pastor Jerry's wife, you will never believe that she is that same person that used to scatter the house. All because she had a man who was patient. He had a man who was understanding. He had a man who saw the need for communication. He had a man who said, no, this is not going to destroy this relationship or marriage. Or you're in a marriage right now and you're going through difficult moments and you're thinking of giving up because of what you discovered. No, this is a time for communication. It can be painful, but you can go to God, say, Father, give me the right language or how to relate with my husband. Now, we find a critical example from the scriptures. You know the story of when Esther wanted to go to the king and she needed to do this so that she can save her people. But because the king was in his inner chamber and she didn't have the permission to go to the king, she had to go back to God. God, if you're the one that led me in this marriage, you're going to give me the right words to address this situation. If you're the one that brought this woman into my life, you're going to give me the right path and the right intent, the right character, the right thoughts, so I can address those problems. She went to God and she prayed. And after she prayed, both herself and the children of Israel, she entered the king's chamber and everything she requested was granted to her. In other words, you can actually change a man that is messing around. You can actually change a woman that is lazy. You can actually change a partner that is not committed in the marriage, but you have an assignment to make, a call for communication. You must have the right words. You must know how to present those right words. You don't talk to your partner anyhow, especially, I think this one should be a thought for the women themselves. Now, there is a way you address your husband. Your husband is your best friend, yet, but your husband is also your Lord. Please, I think you should know that somewhere in your mind. Your husband is your best friend, yes, but your husband is also your Lord. And whenever you approach your Lord, there should be an attitude, there should be a manner, there should be choice of words. You can approach your Lord anyhow. Look through the scriptures and you see where Jesus was teaching how to pray to the Father. I say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. There is this mannerism if you want to draw his attention. You must know your husband. You must study your husband. You must know the best way to approach him. One of my guests in our last show, forgive me, this show I intended not to bring in again because this is the first time I'm coming on internet, also on Instagram. So from next month, we'll resume with our guests. All right. So one of our former guests said she noticed something about her husband, and the first thing she did was to go and pray. Father, teach me how to talk to him. Teach me how to. In fact, she said she went and she was praying, and then she went to the husband. She knelt down and told him what she discovered, and she was pleading with him. That was the last time the husband did it. You know, some my two no wives will just be, yeah, you thought I can't see, I will see it. Now I have seen it. Shameless man, shameless man. And before you know, you are scattered the marriage. Wisdom, they say, is profitable to direct. Red flags is the call for communication. Red flag is a sign of underlying issue. Yeah. When you notice a red flag, it does not mean your partner has changed. You know that you guys, when you are dating, you're dating somebody and the person is always there. Then suddenly you send a WhatsApp message, hi there, how are you? How was your night? How are you today? The guy normally replies you within 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and you send this message, and in the next 2 hours, there is no reply. And then you now put a call, say, I chatted you this morning, you did not send any response. Then the next thing you hear from him is, I'll be busy at work. You know he's not been busy at work. You just know. You know there is something wrong somewhere. You try to manage it that day, and the next day the same thing repeats itself. Red flag is a sign of an underlying issue. Probably you have offended him. Probably something is depressing him, either at work, either at home, either in that situation. So when you notice a red flag in your marriage, don't always conclude. Your husband is not having sex with you, and for the past 2 months, he has not had sex with you, and you are not suspecting that he's cheating. All right. I don't know how you guys do it. Now, once your partner is not sleeping with you, having sex with you, you just conclude that there is a distraction somewhere, and you start going and start touching his phone. And God help you, he doesn't discover that you are just, looking for what is not lost. All right. When you discover underlying issues, discover red flags, it could be a sign of underlying issues. You need to sit down, say, honey, what's happening? Your attitude have changed. I'm your wife. Whatever it is, I am with you. I can help you. We can come through this together. Give your partner a platform to talk. And the interesting thing, especially for the women, you know that your husband, men don't always talk. So if you want your man to talk to you, you must create a platform for him to talk. And number 2, when your man eventually opens up to you, never use what he says to you to judge him. Because once you use what a man says to you against him, that's the last time he's going to say anything else to you. This is why you see in some relationship, someone outside will hear something before a man's wife hears it. That is because there is a listening ear somewhere that understands the man and doesn't judge him, but the wife. And same thing goes to the men. You discover a change in your wife's attitude. You discover a change in your wife's character. You don't just snub it off. She has people out there that can look and say, man, what's the problem? She can get to office. Is he her secretary that will notice that, oh, man, you're not looking good today. What's the problem? And she's looking for someone to talk to. You must make yourself available for your partner. This is all we are saying. Because a red flag can be a sign of underlying issues. It can indicate an underlying problem and unmet needs. And these needs requires immediate resolution. And if your partner cannot find you in time of need to help them resolve that issue, they go to the next person that is available. And this is humanity for you. So the best you can do for your partner is to be that right person that once he's confronted or she's confronted with a challenge, you'll be the first person that will come to their mind. All right? So red flags can be a sign of underlying issues. It doesn't mean you should quit. Oh, I just noticed something about him. You single ones, you do that thing a lot. I call him. I've been the one calling him for the last 3 days. I'm not going to call him again. And if he doesn't call me, I won't call him. Then he will not call you and you will not call. He will not call you and you will not call. 1 week, 2 weeks, and probably the person has someone that is already helping him in that situation, and he's seen a need to be around that person. No, it shouldn't be that way. You are dating a lady and over time the lady switches off. The lady doesn't feel like listening to you again. You don't switch off. No, is it Gen Z generation young guys that once they ask a lady out and the lady say no, give me some time, the guy will just go and look for the next person? That is why we have relationships today that doesn't last. That is how we have marriages today that don't last. When you feel or when you know you have met the right person, you must also learn to be patient with them. You must also learn to compromise certain things. you must also try to understand why they do the things that they do. If you are not disciplined enough to go through this process, you are not going to have a sustainable marital life. And it's even more beautiful when you learn these things as a single person, because it will help you in the future to have a successful marriage. All right. What is the next thing that red flags can represent? Red flags can represent an opportunity for growth. Red flags are opportunities for growth. Red flags help you to grow. This is why we tell people, if you are not ready to make sacrifices, you are not ready for marriage. Marriage is not for people who are not willing to work. Marriage is for people who have been called to the ministry of selflessness. Red flags helps you to ask yourself, now this is what I have discovered about my partner. Are there things I can compromise? If I'm going to compromise these things, what are the necessary sacrifices I'm going to make? It creates opportunity to growth. Now you feel you cannot tolerate a girl that talks too much. You can make opportunity for growth. You learn how to expand your capacity to manage people, your capacity to accept people's weaknesses. You learn how to expand. The things you feel is a no-no for you, when you get married, it becomes a yes. Even to those, some of us, marriage will teach you that there are things you felt as a single that you never tolerate. But once you get married, nobody will teach you how to tolerate those things. All right. I used to catch cruise and we say, nobody will teach you submission in marriage. All these noise you are making as a single person. When you get married, you learn submission. Nobody will teach you to love your wife. When you get married, you will learn how to love by force, because these things are things that build harmony and bond in marriage. And once you lose track of your responsibility, you are going to lose your marriage definitely. So red flags can be an opportunity for growth. Teach yourself, how can I accommodate this young man? How can I accommodate this young lady? You don't like the way she speaks English because she's not that enlightened as you. It teaches you opportunity for growth. How can I help her to become a better person? She doesn't know how to cook very well. How can I assist her to become a good chef? She doesn't know how to, she feels lazy, looking for work. How can I push her to become a better version of her? You don't always go into a relationship thinking about the no. You come to relationship, think about what people can become. And how do you do things? I bring you back to the narrative we started with. That the 10 spies say, we saw the land, it was filled with milk and honey, but there were giants in that place. How do you get these things done? You need to learn how to magnify your partner's strengths and learn how to assist and support them in their weaknesses. You are with a guy and the guy is a ladies guy. He has a lot of ladies around him. Say, I will never marry a guy that has ladies around him. I will never marry a guy Then you got to marry one that doesn't have ladies around him. What tells you that in the near future that he won't begin to have ladies around him? Do you know that people actually change? Yeah. So I'm going to tell you some of the things that change people. Some of the things that change people. When people get married, depression can set in. The economy of Nigeria right now. The economy of Nigeria is not smiling. When a man begins to think about house rent, school fee, bills, it changes the man. You see a man that doesn't used to get angry before begins to get angry. So that you married a decent, quiet young man or lady doesn't mean that things will not change after marriage. So what do you do yourself? These red flags will not give you a capacity to grow, to build yourself, to learn how to accommodate someone else's weaknesses. Any marriage you see today that is up to 20 years, 30 years, those are marriages that were built on compromise and sacrifice. There is no marriage that succeeds and survives the test of time if it's not built on compromise and sacrifice. So you don't just come into marriage with the mindset of this is what I want. And if you don't see those things you want, you pull out of that marriage. And once you pull out of that marriage, the next thing is you're looking for your second marriage. And you think there is any angel somewhere. I bet you, your first marriage might be far better than your second marriage. And this is why you see people that divorce, they end up divorcing again and again. All right? So please understand that when you meet someone new and you see the red flags, the date must not end on that first date. Yes, you didn't like the way he was eating the rice on that first date. You didn't like, he does not know how to use fork and knife. You didn't like it, but it should not be the end of that relationship. You didn't like the way she dressed, to the dates. It shouldn't be you don't like his dress sense. It shouldn't be the end of that relationship. You must go back and reevaluate your priorities. What are the beautiful things about this guy? All right, we had dates and I discovered this, I discovered this. These are the positive side, these are the negative sides. Can I accept this? Can I compromise this? These are the right questions. How can I help him become better? How can I help her become better in those areas of their limitations and weaknesses? That is your assignment as a partner. Being a partner doesn't mean you should come into someone's life to just enjoy. Being a partner is that you're coming to someone's life to help them become the better version of who they are. This is why the Bible talks about Eve. Says she was sent to Adam to become a helpmate. That means we help him meet his needs, the full realization of who God wants him to be. All right. So let's have this at the back of our mind I begin to round up on this talk now, the final point of what red flags are opportunities for us to reevaluate our boundaries. Opportunity for us to reevaluate our boundaries, our priorities, and our values. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm open to answer any question. I've been talking. I've not seen any question here. So, do I have any question on red flags? You have any question? Please just type it in, and I'll quickly attend to it right away. Are there red flags that will make me quit my marriage? Yes. There are red flags you see. There are things you cannot just tolerate. There are things you cannot just manage. This is what we say, that what red flag is for one person is not really what red flag is for another person. So you know what should be a deal breaker for you. You should know what should be a deal breaker for you. Is someone being an unbeliever a red flag enough to break a relationship, to end a relationship? Now you are dating someone and the person, whether you're a Muslim, the person is a Christian, or you're a Christian, the person is a Muslim. Is it sufficient to end a relationship? As a Christian, you go back to God in prayer. Say, Father, I found this person. I feel contented with him or her. But he's not a Christian. She's not a Christian. Should I go ahead in this? Whatever you hear in your spirit is what you obey. That is why, first of all, you must be spirit-led and you must be spirit-filled. So if I can shock some of you, that some of the people that say you cannot marry a Christian, they actually married an unbeliever. And today the unbeliever has become a believer. Some of them are even pastors. There were some women that when they got married, their husband never knew the way to church. But today their husbands or wives are workers in the vineyard of God. We just heard the story. I just shared the story of Pastor Jerry, how the wife used to be hot-tempered. Now, if you look at those red flags and you don't go back to God, that Caleb and Joshua said, if God is with us, we are going to conquer this mountain. You must be led by the Spirit, because red flag does not always mean you should quit. You see a lot of people, they say, I've tried my best in this marriage, it's not working out, and I'm giving it up. I just want to quit this marriage. This is not the man I married. This is not the woman I got married to, and you are quitting the marriage. No. Have you gone back to God to ask him, what can I do? I am in this thing and it's meant to be for better, for worse. And the important thing is that there's nothing you've gone through in marriage that someone else have not gone through it. And if you go back to God, God will give you the best direction, because the Spirit leads us into every truth. So please, that you are in a relationship with someone that does not share your faith, you need to go back to God and get confirmation whether it is the right step to take, and if you are willing and if you have the capacity, all right, to be with the person. One of my youth schools, when I was a youth many years ago, I just saw her a couple of hours ago after several years. And I asked her how she already has 2 children, a boy and a girl. And she said, her husband is fine, that he's a Muslim. I was like, Muslim? Wow. It was shocking. And I said, so how did it happen? She told me the story, and she told me that the husband said he's not even doing the Muslim again. His husband has started coming to church, and the husband, several things the husband had discovered about the church, that the husband, they discuss it at home. And she's happily married. All right? There is not really one way to this. Those that are led by the Spirit of God, they are the children of God. So that is an answer to that question. So as I begin, just to summarize this talk, this evening, I want to encourage you guys that marriage has its storm, marriage has its challenges. Meeting the right person can be very difficult. Yeah, especially in this time and age that people are more self-centered. People are more interested in what they will get in relationship than what they are willing to give. This is why we have a lot of folks who are not ready to get married, because they are not looking for who they will invest in their lives. Rather, they are looking for who they can obtain from their lives. But what do you do in a time as this? I've always said, go back to God in prayer. Let God guide you towards meeting the right person. Let God guide you towards doing the right things. Let God give you the grace. Now, when you find those red flags, because you will definitely see them, to make the right decisions. Are these red flags going to help me to build this relationship? Are these red flags I'm seeing, is it God telling me there are work I need to do in the life of this man, this young lady, that these are their limitations, these are their weaknesses, and I'm bringing you into your life to make them a better person? Red flag doesn't always mean that you should quit. Red flag can be a sign, a call to commitment. Are these red flag deal breakers? Are there things I can work on? These things I've noticed in my marriage, how am I going to resolve them? How do we get amicable resolution? How do I bring my partner out of this without hurting his feelings, without hurting her feelings? Right? So having this understanding will help you to make the right choices. And in the moment, I'm going to pray with some of us. In case you are right here, you are trusting God for a life partner, or you are here in a marriage, you are going through storms in your marriage, and you are thinking of what decision to make. The truth is that there is always a way. There is always a way. And I'm praying for you today that God will bring you to that part of making the right decisions, that part of dealing with difficult situations, that wisdom that comes upon you, that you do things are right. The things that are meant to break your relationship, God will turn them around. God will give you the wisdom, the grace, the capacity, the intellect to deal with these things. And I pray that as you go forth from this day, God will bring you across the right people, the right individuals, the right relationship, the right system, the right structures, the right mindset, the right character, and even the red flags in our own lives, that God will give us grace to work on them in the mighty name of Jesus. And it's very important that most times we focus on other people's red flags and we don't focus on our own red flags. One assignment I'm giving you as you're running up today: when you leave here, go to your closest friends and ask them, please tell me something about myself that you don't like. Please tell me something about myself that you feel I can work on. Just tell me something about myself. When you have trusted friends, they'll tell you areas of your life that you need improvement. Because the more the red flag diminishes, the more a perfect person you become. The more you deal with these red flags, the more your true identity becomes. It's important we learn that as we grow in relationship and marriage, we grow from our worst to our best. We don't grow from our best to our worst. Always make sure that the person you meet or the person that meets you is meeting the worst you ever. And as you go and build with that person, a better version of you is revealed from glory to glory. Having said that, I want to say thank you for every one of you that spent that time to come and join us in this live show. And I know you can easily come back and watch this episode of the Impacttouch show. And I'll be meeting us next week. Interestingly, let me tell you that next week we'll resume having our guests. All right, so I'll have people to talk to. Be the first time coming on Instagram. This is a practice section for us to get into what we have going forward. So by next month, we'll be having special guests and we'll be having elaborate discussions. And this is me, Impacttouch, simply embodying the endless glamour of love. See you by this time in August. Take care of you. Bye.